welcome to What the Faith podcast. I am your host, Scott Belzer, along with my co-host, Todd.
That's me.
We are coming on a new adventure, a new endeavor with this.
Brand new.
We didn't think there was enough podcasts, so we thought, let's add one more.
We should add another one.
We should add another one to the ether because there's just not enough choices. So what we wanted to do is just come specifically for our group, right? Our Res Life. We're gearing it towards kind of Leawood, but we want to be expansive and inclusive for everybody. But our idea is just to talk about our students, talk about what we're doing here in a Christ-centered way. And so you and I have had some conversations, Megan and I, all of us actually have. And so we just wanted to start with introducing kind of the concept and making people aware. You know, we've kind of made a few announcements here and there, but come with an actual podcast and some videos to let you know we're actually doing this.
Yeah, so, something on camera.
Something on camera, something recording. And I do want to mention quickly in the background, we have Silas and Emerson that have helped us. Thank you guys. They won't be on camera or talking because we leave that to the adults for now.
Just for the moment.
For the moment, yeah.
Eventually students will be here.
100%. So Todd and I are going to start off just kind of the introduction and really just kind of have a conversation about what we're doing here. Yeah. But then also, we want you guys to come up with an idea, you out there, of stories we might tell, stories you might tell, things you might want to share, topics that you want to discuss. We've got our ideas, but we want this to be student-led, and so as a vehicle. So we're planning on having students be co-hosts, come on, share their stories, talk about different things. So I'll shut up for a second and let you kind of talk and your thoughts about what we're doing here. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I come at it from two different perspectives, right? Like, I love the creative arts and what it means for students to be involved in these things, right? So, like, these guys setting up cameras and running audio and all that. Yeah. Like, we've got students that, like, want to teach and preach. We've got students that want to do photography and, like, want to write plays and all that. So I think this gives them another venue to, like, 100%. Be excited about those things. And then secondary, like, in order for Christ to be known, stories have to be told, right? Like the Jesus that we fall in love with comes from the stories in the Bible, right?
And was a storyteller himself.
Was a storyteller himself, right? And so, like, these stories were passed down from generations to generations to generations to generations, right? And God is doing as amazing things, like, in our students, in our families, in our community now. And right now, back then it was telling stories, and then it was written word. One of the ways we tell stories now is podcast, right? Yeah. And those happen on YouTube and Spotify and Apple and all that. So I'm just excited for the world to hear, like, what God is doing in students' lives, for the things that students are wrestling with, right? Because, like, I don't want this to be like, this is all the answers. Yeah. I want us to be like, what we are wrestling with, right? The doubts that we have, the concerns we have, the sadness we have, the joys that are happening, right? Like all those things. So when you came to me with this idea, I was like, this is so relevant to what's happening in our world today and students' lives, how they take content in. Yeah. And so I'm excited to just, like, let God do God things through creative aspects,
Yeah, and we're in a time where there's a lot going on in the world, right? And we'll try to dive into some of those We'll try to dive into some of those topics as it's appropriate. Again, we want to make sure that it's inclusive and everybody feels loved and welcome and has space for their story. Yeah. But I want to really touch on kind of to add what you're saying, is you and I are we're curious. Yeah. Right? And Adam talked about this a while back, right? Yeah. KC, be kind, be curious. And so the curiosity is what drives us to, again, learn about our students, learn about each other, right? Learn about other leaders, mentors, and take those stories, and then how do we get to know each other better and become more of a community? We gel, all centered around Christ. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm curious to hear about people's stories and what is happening and how we can address that, how we can talk about that in a way that is kind of relevant. The medium is relevant. Yeah. And we want to, again, have student ideas, parent ideas. We want leadership ideas from you guys. And we have a lot of ideas that we want to kind of hone into some episodes, but please come up to us. Please don't be shy about what you're thinking.
Yep, for sure. So if students want to reach out to us, like, we've got an Instagram channel. This is going to be on YouTube, but, like, I'll put my email out there, right? And then we can feed it that way. So todd.davidson@cor.org. You can send ideas that way, or you can comment on this YouTube channel, right? And we'll take some ideas that way. And
people you might like us to interview, right? Just to see us interview. I'm sure we'd love to get Aham from the wood on to Grace Our podcast. But yeah, there's so many great people within our church community, within Res, outside of Res, that we want to just tell all the stories we can. So this is going to be an exciting vision. I'm so glad to be on it with you, man. And glad to be a part of this whole community. This is my first year kind of volunteering, being a mentor. It's been really kind of life-changing for me. I get to work with my kids and be close to them as well. So you've been doing that with yours for a long time. So we're excited, man.
Yeah,
we're excited.
Cool. All right, Scott. So tell me a little bit about, like, you've kind of done podcast stuff. Give us a little bit of history of, like, where you come from this and, like, the things that you've enjoyed learning and growing in.
Absolutely. So podcasts for me I started podcasting about 10 years ago. You know, I had a friend that I went to college and he was doing it. It was like a CrossFit podcast. and it was just him and some buddies getting together, and they were curious creatures. And so I started my own podcast, and it was centered really around strength conditioning, exercise science, but also coaching leadership. And coaching and leadership are real passions of mine. And I just sought out people that I wanted to talk to that I found were interesting, that had cool stories or cool philosophies. And then I just went out and said, hey, I'd love to talk to you. I have a small podcast. I'm kind of a nobody in the podcast world, and most people said yes, and we're happy to talk with me. And so I learned quite a bit. And then I've been doing various podcasts with my high school classmates about, you know, what they've been doing over the last 30 years. So that, you know, was kind of exclusive to them. And then I started another one called Curious Creature, which is, you know, I would do an off and on. And so I just love the medium, but that's why I was like, well, this is kind of a no-brainer. We should be doing this here, and I have a real passion for it, and you do as well. But I know you listen to a lot of podcasts. Do you have any background in doing them in the medium?
Yeah, so not as much in the podcast world, but I've been a professional photographer and videographer for 30 years, right? And so whether it's been creating content on my own that just creatively excites me, or businesses hiring me to do video content, like, I get all this, like the mics and the sound and the lights and cameras and all that. Like, that is a piece of cake for me. So when you were like, hey, let's do a podcast, and you were just talking about the audio side of things. I'm like, man, I can add in the video piece of it really easy. And in fact, we've got this group of students that meet once a week to dream about how to do photo and video and social media and all that. So it really snowballs in really well. And so, like, when you're like, hey, I love and know podcasts, I'm like, well, I know and love photo and video. So, like, we can figure this out, right? And we've got these really creative students that are excited about it as well. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer, and we'll see what God wants us to talk about.
Absolutely. And it took us about 45 minutes to set up, and I sat here in my chair while everybody else did the work, because that's my specialty is this. But it's awesome to watch the gift of video and audio, because it is a gift. It's something that again, Silas, my son, and we have Emerson here, and many other students that really have a passion for it and enjoy it. So again, we want to embrace all of that and get as many people involved as we can, and just tell stories in the Christ-centered way. And so that's why we're here. So
I think some of the cool things we can put out there is, I think we're going to need, like, some kind of cool bumper song, right? That's what
bumper. Yep.
All right. So we got musicians that can, like, make those things, right?
We got musicians, maybe a live house band or something. We could do, a little instrument, a little, but we have a lot of opportunity to put in a lot of different segments. Cool. And some will work, some won't. And we'll just play around with it. We're just gonna have fun with it.
Man, I love failing. Like, hey, there's gonna be some of these that we're like, well, that wasn't as good, and we're gonna learn from it and go from there. But
and that feedback from everybody is gonna be about, hey, I love this. Hey guys, I love this segment, and, like, I wasn't sure about this, but maybe we could do that, right? So just playing around with it. So with that, I think we will just look forward to the next few episodes. We're going to be reaching out to people. Cool. So, like I said, reach out to Todd. Is your email again?
Yeah, todd.davidson@cor.org.
Okay. Yeah. Reach out to him, and then Kurt, when you see us at church, again, reach out to us. So we will we'll just kind of go behind the scenes and talk about what we want to do, and then be on the lookout for some next episodes.
Love it.
All right.
Cool.
Hey, guys, from the wood, we'll see you at the next podcast.
When I don't hear it,